Hello, everybody. This is Russell Tomlinson. I am your host, and welcome to Relationship Revolution TV. Man, do we have something excited that we're excited about and exciting for you. I hope you realize that there are more faces on the screen than we've ever had before. That's because we put together a group of millennials and we got them here so that they can talk about making the most of your singleness. So they're successfully single, they are satisfied and single, they are single and they are making a difference and being an example of a single individual that is whole. So we're excited to have everybody. And I want to just introduce them so that we can get into this conversation because this conversation is going to empower every person that's listening. Listen, before I introduce them, if you know of anybody right now that needs some inspiration, some intelligence, if you know somebody that just needs to be informed about being successful in their single life, then you need to call them, text them, tweet them, whatever the case needs to be, and get them in on this Relationship Revelation TV. It's going to be powerful. It's good to have Levi with us. And of course, Levi Harrell, he helps me co-host from time to time. Say hello to everybody, Levi. Un-
Hey,
Unmute.
hey.
All right, all right, all right. Everybody get unmuted so you can be heard because we need to hear you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Glad to be here.
All right, good to have you. And then, of course, we've got the dynamic Eric Thomas. And look, he's in my living room. So I'm just good having you, man.
It's great. It's great to be here. Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in tonight.
And my daughter in the spirit, Shamalia.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here.
We are glad to have you because we know you guys got something to share. And then, of course, Stephanie Tomlinson. She likes me to call her my lovely daughter, who was with me last week for this. And of course, she is a part of our successfully single panel. Guys, we got some things that we really got to cover, and we don't have a whole lot of time to do it. So I'm just going to keep going from left to right, start out with Levi, going to Eric, Shamalia, and then Stephanie. But you all are millennials, and here's what we are noticing. Why is it that so many millennials are marrying later in life? There's something going on. I guess it's because people are single and they like the single life, or is it something else behind that? Levi, let me know something.
I think it's a couple things. One, times are just different. Times are just totally different. With the rise of technology, media, and social media, and all of that, there's access to so much. There's options out here, my Lord. And so, but with that said, I personally believe for me, I've hit a pocket of my life where I'm thoroughly enjoying my singleness. Of course, there was a time where I was on my way to getting married. And not saying I won't, but as of right now, I've hit a space in my life where my passion and my drive and getting my education and working in my career and even doing ministry is just taking the front seat. And I believe as I continue to evolve as an individual, then I will meet my lovely wife on the journey, and hopefully I will find her working, as the word says.
Hey,
So
listen,
that's what I believe.
listen, let me ask you a question though. Do you think that the relationships that we're talking about, we've got technology, we've got social media, we've got all of these things going on where we meet a lot of different people, a lot of different ways. Do you think the quality of those relationships are up to par, or is it something that is just superficial?
I think the quality of the relationships via social media are not up to par. Now, you'll probably have some that say something different, but I don't. I like good old fashioned meet you at the coffee shop, meet you at the church house, meet you at the movies. I like that, maybe follow up on social media, but for an initial conversation,
Yeah.
not at all. I'm not into that.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask Eric the same thing, man. Why is it that your age group is getting married a lot later in life than it was just maybe 2, 3 decades ago?
Well, I believe that my generation and even generations to come are getting married in life because growing up we always had a certain view of marriage. You possess certain things before you get married, and I believe that with some of the things that our generation has been through as it relates to trauma and some of the things that we've seen, some of the mistakes that we've seen, we're more so like, look, let's just get our own selves together. Let's just make sure we are fully where we need to be before making a commitment with someone else to fully do life with them. I think that we had a great esteem for marriage and relationships. And I think that we just decided that we're not going to rush. We're going to approach it differently, but we're also going to possess as many assets as we can. We're going to maximize where we are as much as we can, because when we get married, we want it to work. And we're not trying to get divorced, 50 and at 60 and have to start all over again. We want to pretty much do it right and call it a day.
Yeah. I want to add, like I did with Levi, I want to ask you this question. How much of this you think, as far as marriage is concerned or getting married, is there a fear element in there somewhere?
I believe there's a great fear element in there. And again, as I spoke to trauma, I think that a lot of people have been through trauma. And then I think social media perpetuates or heightens exactly how much trauma people have been through. Social
Mhm.
media is almost like a sneak peek into the life of an individual. And with so many things going on where people can openly and freely share their trauma, it kind of creates this group think mentality that then says, hey, look, as everybody's on games. So if nobody's serious, why are we going to be serious? And it creates this never-ending cycle of people just afraid to approach relationships because everything kind of seems inauthentic these days.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to Shamalia because, it's time for the ladies to weigh in, man. I mean, you guys have given some great answers. I appreciate your perspective, but as always, there's another part of this, another side of it. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Shamalia, what are the benefits? You're single, you're professional, you're successful. What are the benefits of your singleness? Why is it that you're cool with it?
The benefits of my singleness. First of all, my singleness is very lit. And the benefit of the singleness versus those that I have as friends that are married, when I get up and I have the ability to say, hey, today I want to go to Australia, I have the ability to do that without checking in, waiting for schedules to match, so I can just fly out. So I think that's the benefit of it. And I get to really understand the best version of myself. So as Eric said, I get to evolve as a person. So I get to meet myself and know that, wait, I love to travel.
Okay.
Sometimes when people get married so young, they don't get to that point or reach a point where they know what they want.
Yeah. So is there how much of that single life um, also has a element of loneliness to it?
I don't know. I'm not lonely at all.
Okay. So there's never
None.
never a time, no loneliness.
Yeah, I don't suffer from that at all.
All right, you're good with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to ask Stephanie and see what she says about it. And if there's an answer on her end,
Well, whatever my sister says.
Stephanie, listen. What's the benefits of your singleness at this stage in your life?
I think the greatest benefit of being single is getting an opportunity to truly get to know who you are. Getting an opportunity to truly get to know what your purpose is. What am I here for? What are my intentions for a relationship?
Mhm.
A lot of times people just get together, but they don't really understand how to choose a partner because they don't really understand their identity, whether it's in Christ. They don't understand their identity. So if you don't know what your identity is, how do you know if you're choosing the right partner?
Yeah, I agree. But with that said, even though there are benefits to the relationship, what about this idea that single people have certain limitations? And we'll get to that in a deeper way later on. Yeah, you guys have benefits being single, but then on the other hand, just like married people, there's certain things that are limited as far as being single is concerned.
That
And that's for Stephanie, by the way.
yeah, I mean, honestly, with the limitations, uh, I feel like it's switched. I think there's less limitations in singleness. Why? Because you have an opportunity to kind of just explore yourself, to get to know you, to do like Shamalia said, if you want to get up and travel, you have an opportunity to do that. You know, once you get married, I think there's a role that comes with marriage, that helpmate. You know, like Levi was saying, that helpmate comes with marriage. So before you are married, you get to explore life. You get to explore, what do I want? How do I want it? When do I want it? You know, I don't think there's personally any limitations in getting married. I believe maybe for more of a guy that the limitations could be not having that support system that could boost you further in your career. Maybe that support system that can boost you further in your purpose. You know, I believe a purpose partner is you know, is the goal eventually. You know, but before you get to that goal, there is no limits. I don't
Yeah.
believe there's any limits.
Well, it sounds like you and Shamali are on the same page.
My sister.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you all are on the same page. But all right, Levi. All right, you're single.
Uh-huh.
Um, what's happening? I guess you can only answer for you. What's happening on the dating scene? Is that something that you are strategic with?
Okay, so perhaps it's different per each individual's location. But
Okay.
what I do know, being here in Atlanta, man, Georgia's just a whole different ball game.
Not
So
Georgia.
one, if I'm just going to be completely blunt, I'm seeing this trend where individuals are moving to Atlanta because it's the new Hollywood, if you will. There is great opportunity and all of that, but I think people are trying to jump in relationships for the wrong motives. And so, like Stephanie was saying, the goal would be to have a purpose partner. But I think what's happening is people are looking for a come up, and this is just my experience. And
Mhm.
so they try to get with who they think has the door to the next opportunity. And so if I have to say I love you, but I really don't mean it, I'll do it because I have a goal at hand. Or if I have to walk a red carpet with you, it's not because I want you on the carpet. It's what I want what's at the end of the carpet. And there's a whole lot of fraudulent things that we're running into, and I've experienced it. I've been in it. And to be truthful, it is heartbreaking. And to jump to your last question about the loneliness, I'm not lonely, but you can be in a relationship and still feel alone when it's
Mhm.
not the purpose partner. And that's what I've experienced time and time again. And so in this current state of my life, I'm great. And I feel like my companion is my purpose, my passions, my drive, all of that. But as far as Atlanta's concerned, Atlanta's weird. I'm starting to think my wife don't even live here. Just saying.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be standing in faith with you, whatever the case may be.
Please.
But but so this is probably what I would call. We talked about the benefits, but this is probably the area where you guys are maybe at a disadvantage because, from what I'm understanding, talking with different single people, dating could be difficult or hard, or maybe some people stay away from it altogether. Eric, what do you think?
I definitely think that some people stay away from dating altogether. And again, that's why I keep referring back to trauma, because I think at some point in time in your life, you have had somebody you've had a crush on, somebody's had a crush on you, and you may have attempted to date, whether that was in your teenage years, whatever the case may be. But at some point in time, I believe people stay away from dating either because of what they've experienced or what they've seen, and they just don't want to go. They just don't want to go through. Um, and that's not to say that everybody has experienced trauma, but but outside of the people who are called to singleness or feel like they're really called to just be single and not having a spouse. Again, when we look at people, when we look at some of the things that they've been through, and then those feelings and thoughts are perpetuated by social media and what other people seem to share, I think a common question becomes, should I even waste my time and make an attempt? So
Yeah.
there's a fear that is associated with taking that leap of dating and maybe hoping to one day marry, because again, people are dealing with so many things. I think a lot of people would just say, yeah, you leave that over there, I'm gonna walk my own path.
And so Shamalia, do you think that there's a place in being single for group dating?
What type of dating?
Group dating, dating with other couples with you. Group dating.
Okay. Group dating. I think that, once you find the person that you want to date and, you have a relationship with that person on an individual basis, yeah, I think it's more than okay to gather with other singles.
Yeah. And would you consider that also probably safer when it comes to the issue of temptation? Because, you know, anybody can be tempted.
Yeah, probably when you're younger. I mean, I feel like we're a little bit up in age, so I'm really not interested in that form of group dating. That I think that at this point, whatever you're going to do, you're going to do it, and
Yeah.
whatever you have made a non-negotiable to not do, you won't do it. So I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
group dating is necessary. Only now to maybe just to gather with the friends and enjoy together.
Well, you guys are, I guess, the generations he would call you guys a little older. But yeah, that makes sense. In other words, you are a responsible adult
Yeah.
and you know how to make intelligent decisions. So, Stephanie, what do you think about the idea of dating, period? Is that something that you would be interested in, or is it going right into a relationship, being steady with that relationship, and then eventually going into possibly marriage?
Yeah, personally, I'm not interested in dating. The question was asked, is it hard to date? I don't think it's hard to date. I think it's extremely easy to date because there's a lot of options out there. But I think it becomes more difficult when you're looking for a specific something and you're trying to find that person that matches well with you and where you're going in life. So dating is easy, but personally, I would rather not date. I would rather become aware of the person that I'm looking for. Hopefully he sees me as well, and then we can have an intention when we are courting. But
Yeah.
dating is it's not for me.
Of course, I'm thinking that you all concur. Okay. Boy, I think you all probably rehearsed some of these things. All right. Here's the question I'm going to present to each of you. Levi, I'm starting with you. What are the common mistakes made by singles while waiting?
Mm. Um, Perhaps getting distracted by everything in life that has nothing to do with your passion. Of course, as I mentioned with social media, it's easy to look on someone's timeline and think that's the life that you want. When, if truth be told, if you never saw someone else's timeline, it would help you to focus on what you actually want. And so I think in being single, which is a time to build, a time to save, a time to invest, a time to discover yourself, if you get distracted trying to be somebody else, I feel like you're wasting that time. So that way, when your wife comes, or we got male, female here, you'll see what happens. But if you get distracted, I think that's what causes you to waste the time. And when you're trying to be somebody that you're not.
What do you think, Eric? What are the common mistakes while waiting?
I think that there are two common mistakes. I think number one is not getting to know yourself or build a level of self awareness.
Mhm.
A lot of people have to admit that what you may have wanted at 18 is not necessarily what you wanted at 21. It's not necessarily what you wanted at 25, 30, or 40. And a lot of people don't take the time to really build that level of self awareness. Similar to Shamalia, I learned that I absolutely love to travel and I love the freedom to be able to get up and just go and just do, And as I approach a birthday, next week, I am hoping to skydive. I want to jump out of a plane. I don't really have the time for somebody to say, no, I don't want you to do that. I'm afraid and I'm not really trying to hear all of that. Because that's just what I want to do. But I'm very self-aware that I like thrills. So I enjoy roller coasters and all of those other exciting things. And I want to be able to do that. But that's because I have a level of self-awareness. I've taken the time to get to know myself and who I am as an individual. I'm not a person who really cares to have a lot of conversation in the morning when just waking up. I'm gonna say good morning. I'm gonna get mental space together. But if you want to have 8 conversations first thing in the morning about the deep states of the world, I just may not be for you, because I got to get myself together. And then the second thing again is it is not building, not taking the time to really secure your financial future, to understand where you are, where you want to be in your career path. And it's more than just about having assets and, you know, houses and cars and stocks and things about that. But it's really not just about not really expanding your capacity and building yourself up so that when you come and somebody else comes along, you both can
Come on,
bring
alive.
shared amazing things to the table. So I think that those are 2 common mistakes.
Well, you know, somebody just wrote on the screen, "Jump, brother." Yeah, and you know that I've jumped out of a plane 15,000 feet over California. So I've done the skydiving thing. I'm just letting folk know you can be single or you can be married. And my wife happens to be adventurous, so it wasn't an issue. But brother, I encourage you to take that jump.
Trust me, I'm taking it, and when I take it, I'm definitely gonna post a video.
I'm looking for it. Yeah, send it to me first. I want to check it out.
Got you. I got
Yeah,
you.
because there's going to be this look on your face once you get out of that plane. It's going to be priceless. Tamale, let me ask you the same question. And are you a person that understands that while you're waiting, common mistakes, what could they possibly be? Help somebody out.
A common mistake that will come to mind for me is not preparing. So all the time that you do have at some point, if you're looking to be married, you need to prepare. So just like Eric said, you know, you need to be making sure that your credit is good, making sure that you've done whatever it is as it relates to education or has gotten as far as you could possibly get. But to just do nothing and to wait to get to that point and then begin, it's kind of, you know, a lot of wasted time. So
Yeah.
I think that not preparing is definitely not a good thing.
And you're in the education profession, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So are you doing anything, your students, they know you're single. Do they ever come to you for any kind of advice?
Yeah, absolutely. They do. And I think that I'm in now aviation education,
Oh,
but just
okay.
having the ability to stand before the students and I give them life skills all the time, as well as whatever it is that I'm teaching them.
Yeah. And plus you're talking from experience, not
Yes.
just textbook stuff.
Great.
Yeah. Stephanie, share help someone out with common mistakes that people make while waiting.
First of all, everything that they said, but what I'm going to add on to that, to what they said, was just a perception. A lot of people, I think maybe your generation, you guys have a different mindset about marriage. I think it was, especially for women, it was the goal, you know, to be a mom. It was the goal to have children, and it was like the entryway into adulthood or womanhood, you know, was being married and having children. I think the priorities have changed a little bit, but I
Mhm.
believe that your perception, just understanding that you're not missing out on anything, you know. Singleness can be full, singleness can be lovely, singleness is fun. And a lot of times when you have the mindset that you're missing out on something, your only focus becomes getting married. And when your focus becomes only getting married, you're not able to enjoy singleness the way it's meant to be enjoyed.
So what I'm understanding is with all of you, marriage is not your focus at this time.
For
Some
Levi,
me,
people say that.
I'll start with Levi again, then I'll go around. But marriage is not in your focus at all.
not as much as it used to be. It is, but I've tapped into a vein that, if I'm being honest, I'm still trying to define, because this vein I've hit is very new, but it's very fulfilling. As someone who invested everything into getting ready to get married and it not working out, and of course that can happen, but the way, I'll say it like this, and I've heard people say this, and not to make it a male or female versus type of deal,
Yeah.
But as if when men hit a level of heartbreak, it seems to have been said that men have a harder time rebounding than the women. Perhaps because being taught, men are not often taught how to express themselves or let out emotions and things of that sort. And so after going through all that healing and that hurt, even like how Eric was talking about with certain traumas, that was a traumatic situation for me. Past it, but now my focus is, now that I've went through that situation and it hurt, what can I learn from it? How can I stabilize certain things better to where the next time I'm in a situation where I go all out? Because one thing about me is if I want you, I'm coming, and that's just, and I go all out. But you can go all out to the point where you're depleted emotionally, depleted financially, depleted. And then what happens, And so for me, my focus has now become to just develop better dating strategies, if I want to say that, or just getting to a better place with me, because that is the goal. That's what I was about to say. I'm not alone, but of course, during the holidays, you want to be with your spouse. You want to do the whole family thing. You want to do the ice skating and all of that stuff that you see people do in the Hallmark movies and all of that. You do desire that, but it's not outweighing the fulfillment of purpose I have right now. So I personally believe, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I do believe that perhaps we're in a certain season right now, which is self-discovery, self-development, and then see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eric, what does the ideal wife, what does that look like to you?
It would be someone who is understanding. I would say that someone who is patient, someone who will allow me the freedom to be me, because, if she's not a thrill seeker, just don't have a problem with me being that. That's all. That's what I'm definitely going to say. Because who knows what I'll do after I jump out of a plane? I don't know. I might something I don't know. Someone who understands that life is just worth living and meant to be lived. Mm-hmm. And I would say someone who just is fully supportive, the same way that I desire to be fully supportive to them and who they are. And someone who understands that we are still individuals. We're just individuals together. We don't have to be exactly the same, which I think is a common mistake that people make. Oh, you like red and I like red, so we're a match made in heaven. And it's much more than that. You can like red and I can like blue, and we still work out together. But it's about the fact that we can respect our individuality. And for me, I want someone who is going to respect our individuality, who understands that, again, we don't have to be exactly the same. Now, I'm not going to say but I don't want to be one of those old couples with the matching outfits. I want to wear what I wear because I'm going to be fly, and you do that same thing. But again, I'm not going to say I'll never do it. If we got to walk around in the same shoes, matching t-shirts, then all right, whatever. But just more so someone who understands the power that comes with just being two strong individuals who can come together and be better together. But y'all are individuals.
Yeah, when you said this matching outfit thing, some people came to my mind, but I won't go there. Stephanie, let me ask you this. So what's the ideal guy for you?
A man who absolutely is in love with God is number one. Christian is just not enough anymore. Someone who says, "Oh, I'm Christian," no, that's not enough no more. You have to actually live a life of integrity, a life of character. So that's number one. Someone who is emotionally intelligent, someone who knows how to communicate, someone who knows how to lead is another huge one. Someone knows how to keep a family together. Someone who knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly where he's going, and then he understands that you have, like Eric said, you are also an individual and you have your purpose, you have your goals, and someone who supports you in those and complements that purpose and that goal as well.
Wow, that's good. Shamalia, same question. What does your ideal husband look like?
Fine.
I can't.
But
that's good. That's
handsome, of course, humble, and honest. I love honest people. Honest people are just That's just the whole turn on for me. Like an honest man and
Yeah.
definitely a leader.
Yeah. Well, I like the way you set it up. You started out with fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Why not?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You don't
Even the Bible would elaborate on it.
yeah, you don't want to be walking around with
Is it on
anybody.
the eyes?
Yeah, looking like the wolf man for sure. So you guys have a number of things in common, and I can also hear that being single for all of you is a lifestyle for now until the right person comes along. But the question is, Eric, how will you know uh, who is the right one? Is there some type of criteria that you have?
Outside of God smacking me on my head, hey, wake up, here you are. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely a criteria, and I would say that the criteria changes, I guess, as I get older. Similar to what my sisters have shared. Number one, you got to be fine because I can't be with anybody I'm not physically attracted to, and that's just that.
Yeah.
Because I think that matters, and I know most people don't want to admit that, but God, no, I got you. I got to be able to look at you and just say, "Oh, thank you, Lord." I got to do that. But if we talk about that, similar to what Stephanie said, emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
that comes with a sense of maturity and, like we said earlier, self-discovery. So how will I know when she has a level of self-awareness, when she possesses a level of emotional intelligence, when she understands the importance of her being who she is, me being who I am, and we make that work. Someone who is patient and who knows that, hey, look, at the end of the day, it's going to be us until the world blows. Of course, you got to be a believer for sure. You got to have a relationship with God. You got to understand the kingdom, for sure, and we've got to live in that.
Yeah.
But criteria is not as superficial as it was in my younger years. So there are definitely some things that I expect you to bring to the table, or at least have succeeded in by now. Do you have to necessarily be college educated? Not necessarily, but do you have to have maybe achieved a level of success outside of that?
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have had a certain level of success in my career in education as well, working in school administration, having businesses that I own in different ventures. And so I'm not looking for you to have a PhD and a JD and all these other things. But I want to know that you can hold a conversation. There's nothing worse than going into a room and say, "Hey, this is who I'm with," and then they embarrass you because they don't know how to have a conversation. You're just like, "Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
you know." So I mean, yeah, there's a criteria, but that's just on my short list.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's good because I like the idea that the first level of attraction, apart from the real spiritually deep people talking about discernment, but the first level of attraction is physical. When Boaz looked out there and saw Ruth, he didn't know nothing about her, but he was attracted to her on a physical level first. And I think sometimes some church people, not all, some church people try and make it a deep issue when in actual fact, attraction is actually a surface issue. And then after the attraction, then maybe the discernment will kick in. That's what I wanted to run by Levi. How much spiritual discernment do you need in order to know that's the one right there?
Oh, well, I would suggest a lot. Um, and I say that because, to your point, definitely the attraction. But I think as men, we can sometimes get distracted by the attraction. Um, whatever. I'll be honest. I remember when an ex of mine and I were about to break up. I literally said to the Lord, because to be honest, in my spirit, I knew it wasn't going to work before it stopped working. But I was so invested that I wanted to make it work. So I'm like, we've gone this far. But I knew, but I tried to ignore the signs, the signals, and what I felt. In fact, there was actually a dream I had one night where said individual literally had a knife to my back in the dream.
Wow.
Now, I saw it and I was like, what was that? And I was like, oh, that's the devil. We bind you, all this stuff. But if I'm truthful, I knew, and I think oftentimes we know, but we fight it because of the attraction, or we fight it because, oh, I'm this age, and at this age, I'm supposed to do this, or I'm supposed to have that. And so I'd say that to say discernment is very much so important. And to be honest, I thought she was the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird because, which is why I also say, take your time. Don't rush, because in time, all things will tell. People like to present their representative, but over time, you get to see the true essence of who somebody is. How angry do they get when they get mad? You need to know that. How do they budget in a crisis? And all of those things happen. So like Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I'll go further. When the spirit shows you who someone is, believe the spirit.
Yeah. With that said, when it comes to this thing called spiritual discernment, Shamali, I'll ask you, how exactly is it a feeling to you? Is it a knowing to you? How would you describe being able to look at someone and discern whether or not they are that person?
Funny you asked me that question. I always question if I have a 100% keen discernment, or is it because I'm from Detroit? So I'm still trying to balance that thing out. When I see people, I can tell you the whole story.
Really?
So for me, I believe it's just pure discernment.
So are you talking about intuition?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know. There's so much Detroit in me where I've seen so much, or like Levi say, social media, we see so much. We've been introduced to hundreds of stories. So you can see history repeating itself. So you're like, oh, okay, that's a no-go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, there is a spiritual discernment, and there is what we call women's intuition. Do you need both of those, or just one or the other?
You definitely need both. You definitely need both. Spiritual discernment is a must, but intuition is also huge. I think, Shamalia, I don't know, I'm not from Detroit, but I got what you got too. So
universal.
But I think it has a lot to do with experience, though. When you've gone through a lot of experiences, and like Eric said, trauma, sometimes you can point it out, the moment it's walking towards your way, just by the way it walks is, yep, nope,
right.
That's a problem right there. So I think it's a little bit of both, but I think at other times God steps in and he'll give you the dreams, like Levi said. One time I actually heard an audible voice that said, "He is not your husband." Never heard an audible voice again. So sometimes the spirit steps in and, and leads you that way as well, especially when you're hung up on, nope, this is it.
Yeah. Well, if you're hearing an audible voice, that is a good place to hear it, because how many people that are single just end up so desperate to be in a relationship, end up marrying the wrong person. So apparently God really cares about you if he's talking to you audibly, like, no, that is not the one. But once again, when it comes to the kind of relationships the quality relationships that we are talking about, Eric, would you agree? You will attract basically who you are?
I do agree that for sure, because I think people have kindred or like spirits for sure, and I do believe that they tend to gravitate toward each other. I believe that we're bonded to people by so many different things. These spiritual connections, even our traumas bond us. Sometimes our goals bond us, and I think that when you look at who you're going to date, you have to ask, what exactly is attracting me here? What is bonding us together or making us feel as though we have that connection? And if you don't have proper discernment or proper wisdom, or maybe even a street intellect that Shamali and Stephanie spoke to, because I too am from Detroit. And so part of that just comes with being raised in certain environments where my parents would always say, real recognizes real. And when you have taken the time to become a real and an authentic individual, it's easy to look at somebody and say, that's not real. That's fake. That's just a portrayal of who you are for public eye. But at the end of the day, when I want a relationship that has intimacy. And as many people would say, that means into me, be able to see. And I want that. And so a lot of times I think we will avoid things if we feel like we can't see into that person. And because if you can't see into them, you're going to wind up wasting time, and over and long. And as time goes on, those layers start coming back. They start peeling back, and you're like, "Ooh, I didn't know this was there." And then you get past that layer and say, "All right, I'm gonna adjust to deal with that." Then you peel it back another one, and you're like, "All right, I guess I got to adjust to this." And then that other layer comes back, and you're like, "Oh no, I can't adjust to this." And and I'm grateful because I've had that experience. Most people don't know I thought I was going to be engaged twice to two young ladies that I've dated, for sure. And I'm always normally private about my relationships, but I thought that I was going to be engaged twice. But both times, over time and time again, those things begin to peel back. And as you grow in intimacy, more and more things are revealed, and you realize, yeah, this is probably not something that's going to be the best for me, for who I am, or even for us. And the truth of the matter is, I can look into a mirror and say, I might not be the best for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. When you talk about relating to somebody, and you said something earlier, Eric, that was very, very key. Most people try to be compatible, not understanding that it's really their differences that will prove whether or not the relationship is really a quality, legitimate, satisfying relationship. And it's generally the differences that drive people apart, not knowing that if they understand how to navigate their differences, that's where the strength of their relationship is. Um, Shamali, you ever dated, and how were the differences? Were there something that you could possibly use, or what? Or did it
Yeah, I
drive a
think
wedge? Did it drive a wedge?
it didn't drive a wedge at all. I love people being independent. I love for you to chase after your goals, whatever vision, dreams you have for yourself. So it just made me enjoy the person all the more. Then you come back together, you have something to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's why I encourage people not to establish relationships simply on the fact that they feel as if they are compatible. Because the
Mhm.
longer you are married, the less compatibilities you're going to have. Compatibilities are good for the early stages, but longevity in marriage actually means that you've got to know how to navigate the differences. You've got to know how to navigate the different personalities, and learn and find out, how do I make this a plus? How do I enjoy this? Because the majority of divorces are found under irreconcilable differences, which means that it was the differences that they couldn't deal with because they ran out of compatibilities. I want to ask you guys something, and this is like the elephant in the room question, okay? I'll start with Levi, then I'll move around from left to right. Uh, I happened to see a few years ago um, Tyler Perry's movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. You
Mhm.
guys have seen that, all right? I think
Yep.
we've all seen it. And one of the things that certainly caught my attention, you have two people, they start dating, but is it fictitious to you that they find themselves being not sexual but intimate? They're in bed together, they're laying on each other. There. So here's the real elephant in the room. Like, how in the world do you keep yourself from going into a relationship with a dating relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, with the benefits of marriage, like sexuality? Um, how is that possible that you can have that level of intimacy and it not turn into sex? Levi, is it possible?
I think it depends on the individual, and the world we're living in over sexualizes so much.
Mhm.
That yeah. Ugh. It's possible, but then it just all depends on the individual. I know personally, not necessarily in bed, but my ex and I never went there, but we've had some intimate moments in terms of us being together, booed up, whatever. But and I'm reminded of a comment you and I, or something you said to me a while ago, where I forget how you said it, but your purpose or something you said outweighs their desire. So I often think about, if I get in this situation, what would this do? It doesn't mean I'm not a man, doesn't mean I don't have hormones and all that stuff, but I'm able to say, And I think too, I've seen what that's done. I've been in ministries and I've been in scenarios where I've seen leaders step out and everything crumble. And so in my mind, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. But that's me. Other people like, how could you not do that? How'd you not go there? That's me. That's just me.
I don't remember telling you that, but you know what? I'm glad you gave me credit, because I'll use it from here on out.
Bet.
Eric, let me ask you. So, is it realistic, what we see in the movies? I mean, you see some very passionate, what we used to call heavy petting, and I'm looking at, I think, what's the gentleman's name that played Orlando in the movie? And of course, the lady, handsome gentleman, and Orlando, and whatever her name was, getting into some super heavy physical intimacy, but it never went sexual. Um, I remember scripture. You can't take, is it fire into your bosom and not be burned? Uh, is that a reality?
I think it is a reality. Let me say that, because all things are possible with God and with God's help. So let me first say that as a believer. We live in a try before you buy world. I'm also going to say I'm not mad at the people who try before they buy. I'm just going to say that. But the question is possible? Absolutely, it definitely is possible. But similar to what Levi said, you have to consider what's on the other side of that. And you have to ask, which is more important? Is it my immediate desire in this moment? Or could I sacrifice this immediate desire? That way, then I'll have long-term and long-lasting desire. Am I willing to make this investment now to come out greater on the other end? It's just like investing in stocks. I can make an investment and not see a return right then and there. But if I wait a little while, I don't know how much that stock can grow. And I think that when we talk about doing our best to wait, again, I have to leave it in God's hands. And then even in moments where I am in the fire, I have to often ask, what would happen if I was to go for this right now? Is it worth it? Or a simple question is this God's best for me in this moment?
Yeah. I remember a long time ago an old Aaron Neville song, Everybody Plays the Fool. One of the verses, how can you help it when the music starts to play and your ability to reason slips away? And it's talking about being caught up into such an emotional state that you lose control of your passion, and everybody plays the fool. But I'm glad they put on the end sometimes, not all the time. And hopefully we won't have to learn the hard way. How How do you control? What's a remedy for controlling passion that's forbidden? Shamali, give me a remedy.
The remedy is to put God where he belongs in your relationship. So definitely having that conversation with the other person and explaining to them what your non-negotiables are. And you just have to know already within their relationship if that person is going to go along with it or not.
Yeah,
So
I
you
like
can't
that.
fool
I
yourself.
like non-negotiable. That's good. I like non-negotiable.
Yeah,
And so you have a belief and a value system
right,
that places limitation on your behavior, if I'm
right.
saying that correctly. Okay.
Yeah, and I say it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about a covenant I made with God. So it doesn't have, that person doesn't have to take it personal.
Yeah. So
So they just understand the roles.
somebody just wrote on the screen, I think Levi did this, boy, remedy, go
Go
to
to
the
the gym and
gym.
do cardio.
So the
That's the
remedy,
word.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
what you gotta do.
go.
I mean,
All right, so Levi says go to the gym. I like Shamali is talking about, your personal value, so on and so forth.
But I do hope you're attracted to that person. Like I want to be with the person that I'm like, ooh, Sheba.
Yeah,
I don't want to be with somebody that I'm like not interested in them.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
But you do have your boundaries in place,
yeah.
and that's good.
You have to introduce that person to the boundaries.
Okay, great. Stephanie, what's a
Yeah.
remedy?
Kind of like Shamalia said, I think you have to go in the relationship with an intention of what am I doing it and why am I doing this and what am I doing it for? So if you go in with the intention and you're partnering with someone who has the same intentions as you, like Shamalia said, knowing where God stands in this relationship, you're going to make decisions based off of what both of you guys value. So if you value your love for Christ, if you value staying pure because you understand the consequences that comes with not, staying pure, then, you're more likely to reach that goal when both of you guys share that same value. And obviously knowing your boundaries as well. Those things should be discussed before the relationship, gets going. And if you recognize that your partner doesn't have that same value system that you have, then maybe that's not the one that you should begin in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. You mentioned Shamalia mentioned values, and you also said something, Stephanie, that I think is really a great key. You talked about having that discussion uh, in the earlier stages of the relationship, which means everybody knows what to expect uh, when the relationship is in high gear. Let's put it that way. Everybody knows what to expect. And of course, it's not about controlling the other person, it's about controlling your own passions. And you mentioned the word consequences. That is one of the most scariest words in the vocabulary when you understand that with every action there's always going to be a consequence. And there's some people that have had some life-changing, devastating consequences as a result of not understanding, because passion is powerful. It's not anything. And that's why when you look at the movies and you look at social media and you look at all of it's just a lot of sexual innuendo that's in the language, in the conversation, in media, period. So it's everywhere. It's all around us. You can't be at the counter or at the grocery store and not see something on the magazine cover. And as far as men are concerned, we are visual creatures. And in today's world, with sex and all of these things everywhere, it's almost like you got to walk around with your eyes closed, and we certainly can't do that. So we've got to be able to understand how to certainly take authority over that part called the flesh and control passion, and it is not an easy thing to do. You know, the whole issue of sex will always be a challenge, whether you are single or even married. There are some married people that really have issues in this area, but it has to be understood as something that is not only a blessing but beneficial when it comes to a marriage relationship. And when you keep it in the context of marriage, it takes the relationship to a very deep, wonderful kind of experience. And so I am continually standing in faith with all of you single people that's taking a stand. Last thing I'll ask you, I'll start with Stephanie. What makes singleness lit? Because I think I heard Shamalia use that
Ugh.
thing. What makes your singleness lit?
The real question is what doesn't make singleness lit? Singleness. Okay, I think I have an advantage here because I've been married before. So I already know what's behind door A. So and not saying that it was bad, it was not. I enjoyed being a wife, and I'm looking forward to being a wife again. So I'm definitely not close to being a wife. I feel like I am ready, and that's the journey I'm going on. So but because I've walked through that door, I also understand the role, the responsibility that comes with it as well. And I'm not going to lie, it feels amazing to kind of step away from that, because when I was single the first time around, before I was married, my focus was, marriage. I want to be married, that was my focus. So I didn't get an opportunity to truly enjoy what singleness was, and the fulfillment of what singleness brings. I didn't get a chance to enjoy that because I didn't even realize that my focus was, hey, I want to be matched with someone, but now that I've been behind that door, and I know what it's all about, and it's wonderful. However, like Shamalia said, I mean, I get to walk in my house. Everything is the way I want it to be. I get to get up and leave. I have a child, but I have a ex-husband who's very well capable and able to say, here, drop her off. He has no problem with it. So I'm able to be free, live my life, and I honestly enjoy it a lot.
Eric, what makes your singleness lit?
What makes my singleness lit is the fact that I get to explore many different interests. Some that I maybe don't feel like I probably would have gotten to explore had I gotten married, at an earlier age. But again, that comes with self-discovery. So I love the fact that I can wake up, get up, go travel. I love the fact that I can explore various career paths. I just love the fact that I really get to do so many different things, and I get to try my hand at this and try my hand at that. I don't have to run it by anybody. I don't have to get anybody's approval or opinion or input on it. Of course, unless it's a life-changing decision, then I'm going to call people who give me sound counsel and wisdom. But what makes my singleness lit is the fact that I take the time to enjoy Eric. I take the time to get to enjoy myself and really take the time to really build myself up. I get to pour and invest into myself, knowing that every investment that I'm making right now is going to make me a greater person for whatever comes my way in the future. And if I am to get married, I know that by the time I do that, I am going to be presenting my best self, not my underdeveloped self, not my delayed self, but my best self for who I've actually been able to build myself up to be in that moment and at that time.
That's good. Well, Levi, other than going to the gym, what makes your singleness lit?
Honestly, having the time to really, really invest in me. I am an avid learner. And making money. I literally thought to myself the other day, my schedule recently has gotten even the more crazier. And in a relationship, there was no way it would work. So I'm enjoying making money, getting my education, investing in me, evolving. We talked about the other night on Clubhouse about the rate of revelation, and not evolving at at the rate of your age, but evolving at the rate of revelation. So every time I read a book, every time I'm at a seminar, I get to move at a certain pace without having to consider anyone else right now. And that's nothing wrong with that. It could sound selfish, but that's the space I'm in right now. And I thoroughly, my God, I thoroughly enjoy it. And again, then otherwise I go to the gym.
Listen, we're just about out of time. You guys have been a great panel. I think you've been candid. I think you guys have been honest. I know that what you shared, somebody certainly heard something that they benefited from. Hey, those of you that's watching right now, those of you that will watch Relationship Revolution Television, I want you to support this kind of what we would call assignment. I want you to support it financially. You know, we're running everything across the screen, I should say, and you see it right there. There's the Cash App and everything. Listen, make sure that if you enjoyed this and you want to benefit from what you heard, sow into it. There's something about giving. What you release out of your hand, God also will release into your life. It's not just about money. There are things that you need, especially in your singleness, that you can actually reap as a result of what you've heard, and then demonstrating your faith by giving to Relationship Revolution Television. And it doesn't matter what amount it is. It doesn't matter whatever is on your heart, whatever is on your mind, we want you to give, because it's all about your faith. And so you see everything that's there, take advantage of it. And I want you to help us to keep this kind of relationship, insight, information, revelation, experiences. I want you to help us to keep this kind of content going. We're going to grow this, and it's going to go beyond what you're seeing right now. It's going to be something that will benefit people. There's a whole lot of trashy stuff that's going on social media, but this right here, this is certainly beneficial, and that's why we invite you to give into it. So you have an option. And of course, we don't have to persuade you. You know whether or not this was a blessing to you. And I know it was. And that's why we're trusting that you are going to continue to help this kind of information and content stay on, so that somebody can be empowered in their relationship. Well, look, I'm always on my personal development word study Monday at 9:00. Levi and I will hit Clubhouse 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday, and Thursday I'm right back here. Relationship Revolution. This is one of my favorites. Hey guys, thank you all again. You have been a help and a blessing and a source of empowerment to somebody. Appreciate all of you. And at some point, we got to have you all back on again, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm all for it.
Thank you so much.
Hey, God bless, guys. We're leaving the studio. Catch you all next week, this same time on Relationship Revolution TV. Oh, it's lit. See y'all later.